So hello, welcome to Section 3A, Website Design Considerations. So the website is your place of business. It's the single most valuable piece of digital real estate you can invest in, so you really need to get it right. Make sure it's a good user experience, which we'll talk about in a later chapter, and certainly don't mess it up. So remember, the website is really where they convert. All of our marketing techniques really have one thing in common, and they're designed to drive the qualified traffic to the website. So again, we should think of the website kind of as our conversion engine. It's one way to think of it. Conversion goals, your goals can be all different based on your business model. It could be an order, it could be a PDF file download, it could be subscribed to the newsletter. It doesn't really matter what they are. The important thing is to make sure you understand your target market and design the website that's going to facilitate what it is that you want them to accomplish. So again, you have to think of a good user experience, and we'll again talk about that in a later section. Again, we could kind of categorize websites as three different types: content, media sites, branding, e-commerce. So our media sites could be Yahoo, New York Times, Google Newsfeed. Branding sites could be something like Craft Recipes, which is kind of supporting the brand and the products. Inside our AT&T, supporting customers of AT&T. And then you have your e-commerce sites, of course, like Amazon or JCPenney. The different website types. Again, what we're showing here is kind of how they differ based on offers, business objectives, media, content strategy, testing. Again, I'm not going to go into all these. You can come back and take a look at these later. And their success metrics. Again, websites are kind of like a house. Which would you prefer? So again, you want to make sure it's an attractive website. Again, as I said many times, with a good UX, user experience. Three critical website factors, again, the structure, the architecture, the content, and the navigation. Okay, so when we talk about the architecture and the structure, it's kind of how it's kind of built a little more on the techie side. Content is making sure it's readable, and navigation is ensuring that things are linked up easy and easy to navigate. Main steps of building a site is the planning, design, development, testing, and deployment. So again, planning, again, you need to make sure you understand your goal. You need to make sure you understand who your market is. What are your competitors doing? Design it. What is the look and feel you're going after? So lay out the design elements. Development, start to put it all together. Test, you've got to test before you go live, and then take it live. Rules of website design, again, know who you're building the site for. Okay, very important. We talked about that before. Are they older individuals? Are they younger? They both have totally different needs in terms of how they like to consume content. So make sure you understand that completely. Build usability into your website design, make it a seamless experience for the user. Again, you don't want a person to have to go through 10 steps to go through the checkout process, nor do you want it as a single step where they do everything on a single page. Again, that is not kind of the common way that it's done either. Make it accessible to everyone. So just, so everybody has access to the same information, whether you're on a PC, a Mac, a mobile. Your images should also be tagged properly with text. And again, just want to make sure you guys are aware that, again, it actually could be illegal if you do not have images tagged properly with text. So think of a visually impaired person coming to a website. Maybe you have some sort of giveaway you're doing, and the visually impaired person really doesn't have access to the same information that you or I might to help them make a better claim for winning a prize, they could come back and sue the website because of that fact. So again, according to the Disabilities Act, all images should actually be tagged. Choose your words carefully. Again, from an SEO perspective, we will get into that from a search engine optimization. Make sure you know who your competitors are. How are they ranking? What are their keywords? How are they positioning the products? Things along those lines. Make sure you include those trust flags, your affiliation with the BBB, the Better Business Bureau. Always include a search box. Very key that you have a search box there. That's the first place somebody's going to go to if they're confused, and you don't want to lose them. So you want to make sure they see the search box front and center. Make your logo clickable to always take you back to the homepage. Very key. I still see a lot of websites out there where it's not clickable, so it's a must. And again, navigation should be vertical for the most part, but again, that doesn't mean you can't have a good user experience with it being horizontal either. But again, a best practice is for it to be vertical. How to choose a web designer? Again, just be very careful in choosing a web designer. I know many people where, again, their web pages and code have been held hostage by their web designer because their web designer said, oh, I'll also host it for you. So they don't even think about the fact that the web designer actually is the only one that has access to the ID and password to actually get access to those files, and you don't. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're on the outs with your designer and he's not letting you have the files. Just not a good thing to happen at all. So please be careful. And again, when you're trying to pick a designer, look at their website. Does it look professional? Is it easy to navigate? How do they rank on organic search for the service they provide? Examine their portfolio. Who are their clients? Click through on their sites and test them. See if you like the way that they're working. And are their client sites coming up high on Google search with a high page rank? Ask for recommendations. Google the designers themselves to see what their reputation and digital footprint looks like. You might see some bad reviews out there on a website or two. So just make sure you are really, really careful when you're picking a web designer. Speaking of navigation, what we're talking about here is really the site structure. So we'll get into this when we talk about user experience a little bit later, but there's actually something where they do cards. And what they do is they will give a bunch of cards to individuals and say, please sort these and organize these together as to how you think these different items will hang together. And then that's how they kind of start to design the actual scheme, the navigation scheme of what the different categories are going to be. So typically they let the users of that particular type of website help them design the navigation. If we look at Drake Direct as an example, my wife's consulting company, again, and you go to the navigation there, which is horizontal, by the way, and you look at services, what would be ideal if you do go to her website, www.drakedirect.com, and you click on services, there is not a drop-down that lists the services. Instead, you have to scroll on that page to see the list of 8 or 9 services there are, and actually what we should probably have. So what we should have is really a drop-down with those services. The other thing to keep in mind is, remember, the homepage should be slippery. For the most part, you really don't want visitors to stay on the homepage a long time. Typically, it's meant to be a navigation page to get them to go to where the content is that they desire. Another best practice is to avoid splash or flash intro pages if you can. Again, Google, can kind of figure things out a little bit, but they prefer there not to be heavy flash intro pages. So from an SEO perspective, not the best thing. So on your homework, what I'm going to have you do is assess these 4 different websites. Razorfish is a digital agency in New York, as is Deutsch, and I'm going to have you kind of assess this from a user experience best practice perspective. What do you think? Who do you think their audience is, etc. The same thing with McDonald's and the same thing with Gatorade.